2, 3.
David Kearns Hoadley,
Arian Verpike.
Chuck Doswell,
Tom Brazil,
John McGinley,
Robin Tanamachi,
Kelly Bluestone,
John Weaver,
Jerry Verkijk,
Gene Moore,
Don Burgess,
Peggy Willenberg,
Carson Eads.
Beavis,
Robert. Alan Prentice.
Jack Corso,
Is this on?
Keith Brown,
Randall Zipser. Kenny Adams.
Scott McPartland, David Lewison,
Betsy Abrams,
Vince Miller, David Demko, Gregory S. Forbes,
Scott Woolham,
Reed Timmer,
Heidi Farrar,
Rocky Raskovich,
Jay Angel. Scott Loverpaul.
Daniel Dawson,
Bob Hartig,
Kevin Barton.
Darren Brunin, Ken Cole,
Jennifer Bernstein,
Tony Walbeck,
Matt Crowther,
Laura DeShane,
Roger Edwards, Matthew Biddle,
Joshua Warman. Michael Locke.
Gene Roden,
Carrie Caseba,
Rich Thompson,
Stephanie Lewison,
Greg.
Stumpf,
Douglas S. Kiesling,
Donna Edwards,
Roger Hill,
David Fogle,
Joseph Golden,
Karen Hill,
Tim Marshall. Hi, Mom!
William T. Hart.
Roy Britt,
Scott Blair,
Cindy Martin,
Dr. Lewis Wicker,
Cecilia Morgan,
Zed Grubb.
Helga Lewison Zipsa,
Bob Gonzanius.
Chris Kreidler,
Ben Wilkham,
Melissa Marceloni,
Skip Talbot.
Mike Tice,
Sol Allen.
Can you pause that really quick? Okay, so those are so far the participants with this project. A lot of them, and many, many stories to put together. So, let me see. Now, I want to take you back to the first publicly known storm chasing special that was aired in 1978, before storm chasing was really getting in the public eye. This was the first time that any of this really got out there. And had a chance to interview one of the participants, well, two actually, one of which is included in here, John Weaver, who lives not too far from here, about his experiences with the production crew. It didn't sound too much different from other production crews and modern stuff. But I'll let you go ahead and play the film.
The last cool air of winter collides with the warm, moist air of spring, high above the central United States.
We didn't seek out the publicity. It seemed to kind of come to us, and we weren't, at least I wasn't in the beginning, comfortable with it.
There's a very high probability of tornado formation in any storms which fire.
I don't know what impression other people had of it, but I never met anyone.
The tornado is the fiercest of all storms. Unlike the hurricane, it can unleash its fury with virtually no warning.
This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture.
There was a production crew, and I remember being struck with the efforts of the production crew to make a past episode, which had just recently happened, which was the Edmond, Oklahoma tornado, look real. And I remember shooting the same scene. I had told them in an offhand way about how I had been analyzing and figuring out that this one storm was headed toward northwestern Oklahoma City, which is a nightmare for chasing. And I was vectoring crews in there very carefully, and I was saying, I wonder if it's producing yet. I'm not getting any reports.
Doug, can we have an ASRAN on the northwest circulation, please?
I think maybe it was Brad Small, who's now at the University of Washington.
Okay, John, what do you see?
I was sitting at my desk, and the room was very small, and they wanted Brad to come in and move into the shot. And of course, I had never shot TV before then.
Go ahead, are you on?
Brad had to come in and fall down to a knee outside of shot, and then just kind of move toward my desk in a kneeling position.
I've just been up on the observation deck, and there's a big new set of towers building into the southwest side of that El Reno.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
And I got so punchy at one point that he came up close to me and said, John, and I went, I love you. He said, come on now, guys, you're wasting film. We're going long on this, you know. And so we did it about three more times, and they were very happy. But they had Bob Davies Jones. He was British. He'd get a cup of tea before we left, and he'd saunter out to the vehicle and get into it.
Okay, John, we're just turning on the I-35 just outside the lab.
But they wanted to make it look dynamic and energetic and emergency-like. They made him run, that's right.
Let's go, it's already going up.
Intercept chasing heads out to find the storm system and document the tornado's formation.
And I can understand it because they have to have a good flow if it's going to be adventurous and interesting and whatnot.
My Uncle Walter comes home from the city and he's like, I found something at a newsstand. And it was the April '86 issue of Weatherwise magazine. It was called The Passion and Patience of Tornado Chasing. And I remember looking through it and I was like, oh my God. I was like, people actually chase storms.
Used to run down to the lake and watch thunderstorms roll in off Lake Michigan.
I first became interested in storm chasing because of the movie Twister.
It was born in me. I grew up with it. I used to always look out the window when there was a storm in my childhood years.
It came up on the first date, and he told me about it. He was very excited.
Oh my God. Oh my God!
After my first chase in '92 out there, I was like, I gotta find out more about this. So the only thing I knew about was Nova Tornado.
New cells are forming right along here.
And that Howie Bluestein seemed like a really nice guy. So that's the only guy I knew other than Lou Wicker, you know, who was on there. But Howie just seemed more accessible because he was a professor at OU. So wrote to him, and he was nice enough to write back and told me about Tim Marshall and Storm Track.
7:30 a.m.
It was just sheer excitement, you know. I said I was going to see a tornado. And I didn't even remember, they said they dropped a sound pod in the path of the
Dallas tornado in 1957, and it came on the radio that they were having that tornado.
I remember being very scared by lightning and thunder growing up, and I had to hide my face during thunderstorms. Once I was able to do that and look at lightning, where to the point where I wasn't afraid of it anymore, that's when I started to become obsessed with it.
Back then, of course, I just didn't know anything about what the clouds or anything. I just kind of drove around aimlessly.
I think I learned about storm chasing from Tim Marshall first, seeing his videos, and I believe that's when I first heard about storm chasing. And I wrote letters to the Weather Channel and professors at Penn State and also Tim Marshall, and I used to ask about how I'd mount a Doppler radar on my car.
Twister introduced me and I walked out of the theater and said, I'm going to do that someday.
My mom tells me that I was 4 years old, getting the maps out and doing the watch boxes.
There we go, the attack! I remember by the time I was 7, I was doing surface analysis.
Come on, Wayne! Starting fluid.
Gene couldn't restart his car, and we're thinking, well, this could be a problem. It's kind of heading northeastward towards us.
Get the starting fluid.
Her rolling down the window and say, hey guys, you might want to think about moving.
A tornado hit Twister in 1953 in June, and I think I was about 5 years old then. And my mother told me to come in the house.